Hey guys, Il here, and this time I want to talk to you about AMX 13105 and Batchat. Because recently I saw Quickie Baby's video and, well, I was pretty surprised about his arguments about how incomplete and sometimes even a bit incorrect they were. So I thought that I want to present my arguments about, well, not really 13105 versus Batchat, but why 13105 is a worthy tank, because the first thing that I want to say, comparing light to a medium is wrong. Because they have different roles on the battlefield, they do different stuff. So it's pretty strange to see 13105 versus Batchat. It's like, you know, comparing T100 and Patton. Like, of course I exaggerate the difference a bit, but you see that they are very different. It's almost like comparing STRV and Batchat. Like, STRV has the same output with more penetration, more DPM, a lot better accuracy, perfect gun handling, and then Batchat really looks useless. But it's not true, because they have different roles, different applications. That's something that was totally left out by QB, and something that I want to say instead of him. So, yeah, first of all, comparing light and medium is incorrect, because lights are not supposed to deal as much damage as mediums. If you treat them only as damage dealers, and that's what most part of the QB's video was. It was mostly about damaging. Then, of course, light tanks are worse. They are all worse than mediums. Because lights are simply not supposed to do that. I mean, they're not helpless, they're not useless, they can deal damage, but they have less penetration, they have worse accuracy, penetration fall over distance, what else? They have sometimes smaller alphas, so their guns are weaker. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that, but lights have other things to be effective with. The things that are usually not noticed, not used by people. Lights have better camo, lights have better mobility, significantly better mobility. And it's not only about top speed, because like if you consider middle tier light tanks, they have the same max speed as medium tanks, but they have better acceleration. You divide power to weight ratio by ground resistance, you get effective horses for a certain terrain type, and you'll see that lights have a lot more. And lights simply accelerate, they get their top speed a lot quicker. That is not as significant as difference in top speed, but you will still notice that difference. And this mobility advantage combined with camo advantage, combined with smaller sizes, allows lights to do different stuff on the battlefield. Lights and mediums, they do really different stuff. Sometimes lights go damaging, of course, sometimes mediums go spotting, but lights do that, but lights do spotting better and mediums do damaging better, of course. And saying that, well, okay, lights deal damage worse, so they're just worse than mediums, that's not correct. You just do different stuff. What do lights do? What's the role of the light tanks on the battlefield? I mean, it's not only assistance, lights must deal damage, they have to. If light tank wants to be effective, it must deal damage, especially because there are like so many paper targets around, which are very easy to penetrate, and you can use mobility to flank and all. So you can even compensate the lack of firepower to some extent. Lights have to deal damage. Not as much as mediums. You don't have to deal 6,000 damage like every battle in 13105, no. But lights also take some key positions to provide early spotting. They give the team information, they can organize the team. You know, you see 5 guns behind you, and then you go spotting, and those 5 guns just evaporate the enemy team. You have control over 5 guns in a light tank. That's something you won't do in a medium. Sometimes you give up your damaging chances, damaging opportunities, to provide assistance for your team, because you know it will be more helpful for your team if you assist now. You can sit in the bushes and wait for some shooting opportunities, or you can spot and just let 5 of your teammates kill those 2 guys. And that will also be important. And the problem is that most players in light tanks can't do that. So many people get an impression that lights are just underpowered class, which is totally wrong because they simply don't know how to use these advantages. these advantages are not as straightforward as of the other classes, like Tank Destroyer. It's big penetration, big alpha. Well, it's pretty visible, you know, you feel this advantage right away. You click, you penetrate, and you deal a lot of damage. You see this advantage. If you are a heavy tank, you have a lot of armor, and you see this advantage. If you're a medium, you have, well, let's say DPM and good penetration, and you feel that advantage. Light has an advantage that is hard to use. And, well, including 13105. We're kind of talking about 13105 and lights in general. So here, this is something that no medium tank would have been able to do. Even Batchat, just standing in the open, like no bushes, because light tanks, well, they have pretty much bushes with them, you know, they have such good camo, and if you learn to use them, that you can say pretty much that you have bushes in your hand, that you just drive with bushes. So the average skill level of the light players is terrible right now, because everyone started to grind them, there are no limits for lights, lights are relatively competitive damage dealers. And those players just try to play them as mediums and they fail, because, well, if you play T100 the way you play 140, of course you will fail. You won't be able to deal so much damage. And if you just YOLO in a lighting, because for light players, you know, scouting is just well, that's not very effective too. So that's why there is a popular opinion that lights are useless. They do different stuff. That's what players have to learn. They don't have to YOLO, and they don't have to deal a lot of damage too. It depends on situation, and it depends on the map, it depends on setup, and light tank as a top tier is not weaker than medium as a top tier. So if you ask me whether I choose to have, say, 140 or T100 as a top tier against tier 8, I would probably say T100. For two reasons. Because T100 is quick, so I can relocate easily around the map. Better than 140 does that. Significantly better, because T100 is very quick. And another reason is that I know that if the map and if the situation requires, I can lead my team by spotting. And I know that if I'm going to be in a medium, I won't be able to do that, or as effectively. So light tank as a top tier is a totally universal tank, which is able to do everything. Like, in this battle that you see right now, there is like some damaging so far, not so much, a lot of spotting. And I'm just ambushing now these tanks and dealing massive amounts of damage. The way you would do that in medium. I'm not much weaker than a medium in terms of gun here. Well, I'm not actually weaker, because I already penetrate everyone, and I can get close enough. I have a lot of HP comparing to the tanks I meet. So, light tanks are often underestimated, and 13105 is underestimated. And if you play 13105 like you play Batchat, you will fail, and you will need a lot of gold as well, something that Quickie Baby mentioned. You know what? It's possible to play lights completely without gold. I don't remember the last time I used gold in 13105. I don't have to use gold all the time. I can sometimes shoot the enemy's track on purpose. I don't deal damage, instead I shoot enemy's track, because I know that there is nothing bad if I sacrifice my damage for keeping enemy tracked just to kill that enemy, to get him killed. So it's not me who's going to get him killed, but I don't care. I will make my team kill that enemy. So there are just other aspects which are important about light tanks, and you know, the pleasure that you get from being effective in a light tank, it differs from what you get in a medium tank, because in medium tank you're happy when you have 6000 damage. In a light tank you are happy when you have 2000 damage and say 5000 assistance, because you feel that you were effective, that you really helped your team, just a bit differently. So comparing light and medium is just incorrect, but mediums and lights can both be equally effective on the battlefield, differently. And light tank, good light tank is very dangerous in almost all maps. There are ways for lights to be dangerous everywhere. Whew. So, thank you for watching, guys. Leave your thoughts about all of this in the comments, and see you in the next videos.